Folks, welcome to Pokédex Trainers. I am your host, Albie, and today we're going to be going over the Mew EX that is coming out of the Mythical Island set. Now, this card, so far, from all the cards we've seen, is going to change the metagame. It's going to bring new decks into the format. It's going to change the way that current decks play. It's going to possibly change how you construct those decks. So let's go ahead and talk about it. And that's because of this one move here called Genome Hacking. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. And it costs 3 normal, which tells us that we're going to be able to play this card in any deck. Now, they obviously designed this card for that, to keep certain cards in check. And that's something we have to remember, because as the cards start to come out, right, they've already, I'm sure, play tested and created cards ahead of time to combat certain issues that may happen. And right now, a lot of people believe that, you know, Mewtwo's too dominant, Charizard's too dominant. Cards that can come in with a decent amount of energy, they can just start one-shotting things, are a problem. But this card completely fixes that, right? Because it uses 3 normal energy, so you can put it into any deck. You don't need to play one of those top tier decks now. You can kind of just make any deck now, add this into it, and now you have an answer. Where before, like how we're playing now, once they have Mewtwo out and God of War, there's nothing you can do. Like, they're just going to KO everything you play. Same thing with like something like Charizard. Once they have 5 counters on that, and that comes into play, the next couple Pokemon you play are going to get knocked out, right? There's nothing you can do. This completely changes that. So what's going to end up happening is people who play the Mewtwo decks, they're going to have to be a lot more conservative on how they put their how they bring out their Mewtwo's. You're not going to be able to just throw your Mewtwo out there and ride it to victory anymore with this sitting on the sidelines, because they could just come in and one-shot you. And the way the wording is on this card, I mean, if it works the way that I'm reading it, this card's going to be insane. Because the card reads, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. Now, the wording on this is very important, because let's go ahead and take a look here. A lot of people were saying, you know, oh, I wonder if it's like the Diddle. And I don't think it is like the Diddle, because the Diddle reads completely different, right? The Diddle reads, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks and use this attack. If the Pokemon doesn't have the necessary energy to use the attack, this attack does nothing. It doesn't specify that, okay? So I don't think it's going to be like Diddle. I think it's just going to be able to copy anything. Now, the other thing, right, is, for example, Psychic Drive and Crimson Storm have discard 2 psychic energy from this Pokemon. On the Raichu, the wording is slightly different as well. Let me see if I can pull it up here for you guys. But on the Raichu, it doesn't specify the exact energy. It says discard all energies. Now, what does this tell us? This tells us that the way things are worded matter in the game, right? They're not just going to switch it up. There's a reason why the wording is different on these cards. Now, when you think about the mechanics on when you're playing the game, you look at a card like Mewtwo and Charizard, the attack happens and then you discard the energies. Now, that's an important thing to keep in mind, because if that's the mechanic of the game that we've seen so far, what it tells us is it does the attack and then it discards the energy, saying that what that shows us is that discarding the energy is not part of the cost to use the ability, right? So I think the way Mew is going to work is that if you don't have psychic energy or fire energy to discard after the attack, you don't discard anything. So you're going to be able to use Psychic Drive in, let's say, a grass type Pokemon deck, and you're not going to discard any energy. I think that's how that's going to work. because based on the wording and based on the mechanics of the game, that's how it's shown that it would work. Now, we don't know for sure. We're not going to know until we get the card and start playing with it. But man, if that's how that works, which that's what it looks like how it's going to work, that's going to be, that's going to be insane. Now, I think that the decks like Charizard, I think these decks are still going to be around. I think what people are going to do is that rather than play the 2 Charmeleons, 2 Charizards, and 2 Charmanders, 1 Growlithe, 2 Arcanines, I think people are just going to switch more to 2 Growlithe, 2 Arcanines, and trim down on the Charmeleons, Charizards, and Charmanders. Now, that could also change because if we get another ball that maybe searches for only evolutions, or we get maybe another trainer that searches for evolutions, we could start seeing where people are playing 1 Charmander, 1 Charmeleon, 1 Charizard, and that just sits in the background just to come in and close out the game. You don't let it hang out in the active spot ever. And we can start to see that with possibly the Mewtwo decks as well, where you kind of leave it as a Pokemon that you load up in the back, and then it comes in and one-shots things. Now, that's assuming that everybody starts to play Mew, which is probably going to happen probably in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then people will start playing other decks where Mew is not as good against. For example, maybe more Pikachu decks will pop up, and 3 energy to deal 90 or to mimic Pikachu's attack is not a big deal. So you'll probably start to see more of those, and then people start kind of like saying, okay, I don't really need to play Mew right now. There's other cards, and again, we still don't know how many cards we're going to get and what other cards we're going to get. There could be completely other bombs in there that completely also warp and change the format. But as of right now, this card Mew seems insane. It's definitely going to change the format. It's going to change the way a lot of these decks play. It's going to bring a lot of new decks up front because now they're going to have a way to combat these stronger strategy meta decks. You're going to have an answer. And again, that's because of its ability, genome hacking. Guys, let me know what you guys think about this card. I'm really excited for this new set, man. I love when these card games come out with cards that don't break the format, but they kind of even it out. I think this card is going to do an amazing job of really evening out the format and keeping a lot of these high-powered EX decks like Charizard and Mewtwo in check so that everybody can have a great experience playing this game. Thank you guys for watching, and take care.